But they also came from their own world, you know, and you might say that world is Tacoma, but it's not just Tacoma. It's a planetoid inhabited only by Gold Trouble and their minions. Well, you're probably aware that Bon Von Wheelie is the teen queen of the Big Boss Beat. And in combination with the very in-the-groove stylings of Buddy Love, it's difficult to resist the inevitable footwork that transpires once they start in. And then, you know, Bill and Kurt are just icing on the cake. The thing is, they put on a show. A lot of bands at that time, they just got up and played their instruments, and usually it involved a lot of this kind of thing. Whereas that wasn't really going on. You know, with Girl Trouble, they were engaging with the audience. They all had their, you know, very distinct personalities. Not exactly, I mean, you know, there's the Monkees and the Beatles and those bands, and everyone knows all the names of all. But people had that attitude absolutely right from the get-go. I think it might have had something to do with Wig Out, because Wig Out was really a way for people, besides the show, for people to get to know the band and the members of the band. They definitely had an idea of what they wanted. It appeared as though the band had discussed it quite a bit before they got to the studio. They had the cover already kind of planned out, and before they recorded, it seemed like they already knew what the cover was going to be like before they even recorded the record, because they just had it. They had a strong, what you might call, graphic identity, you know. And they also were really good at taking photographs. They weren't just like four people standing with their hands in their pockets, you know. And they put some thought into things. We went on tour with them across the U.S., and it was a tour that I mostly set up myself. And again, you know, just making up as I go along. I think that some of the shows they felt they might have had an attitude of like, wait, we drove all the way to West Virginia for this? I definitely sensed that vibe when we got to Columbia, Missouri. The place where we're playing was not too dissimilar from like the Tropicana. It was a storefront space that was used for all kinds of things. But it was significantly smaller than the Tropicana, which is a very small room. And it was in a rather remote corner of town, and there wasn't really much around it except some like fields that weren't mown. We got inside, and there was some band was practicing in there, and it was kind of like they were like, oh wait, it's a show, we have to stop practicing. Gold Trouble were like, the woman who set up the show, I remember her name was Joyce. She was like, she worked at the radio station. She's like, I want to do an interview with some people from the bands for the show at the radio station. And people from Girl Trouble were like, we're not falling for that one. So I went to the radio station and just did the interview by myself. And it was really fun because Joyce, I just got on the back of her bike and she rode me to the radio station, and we did the interview, and then she rode me back on her bike. It was really cool. It turned out to be one of the craziest, funnest shows of the whole tour. Like, all these people showed up, and it was packed, and people were freaking out. It was like being back here in the Northwest. People were dancing, and it was really fun, and it was just like a crazy fun party. And afterwards, we went to stay at this house that was like, it was known as I think it was called the Wig House, and they just had like 2,000 wigs all over the house, just bags of wigs. Gold Trouble had definitely cheered up quite a bit because the show turned out to be not as bad as they thought, or some of the other shows on the tour. And then they got to go to the House of Wigs. It was like, whew, close one. So I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to the next show. Some of the looks I was getting, you know, was just a little intense. But it's, you know, turned out to be okay. And you know, Joyce really she made it happen.